guys, Mullberry here, and welcome to World of Tanks. How to not noob, the class that is number 101. So, today I'm going to be discussing basic tier 1 to tier 2 stuff involving how to work the garage, how the 4 basic currencies in the game work, how module upgrading goes, how researching tank works, basically all the basic stuff. It should be a very quick video, and honestly, it should just be here as a segue into next week's video where I'm going to discuss some basic gameplay tactics, how to get better, where you should move on to in tiers like from 2 to 4, how that all works, how to grind tanks, you know, stuff like that, which is going to be very useful to you later on. However, for you guys that have just logged into the game, saw that tutorial, finished it, learned how to move, drive, shoot, and snipe, for you guys who have just learned how to do that and maybe played 1 or 2 battles, this is the tutorial for you. So if that doesn't apply to you, feel free to jump on out. But for everybody else, here we go. After you've played your first couple of battles, you'll notice that you're starting to acquire certain resources, mainly in the form of credits and combat experience. First, credits is used to buy different things like either tanks or modules after you use your combat experience to research them. So how this works in a most basic sense is that your combat experience is your progression. It is what you use to gain the ability to buy a tank. And then credits are what you gain as you play the game and you progress, and there's what you actually use to buy a tank, to keep it running, to outfit it with better and better stuff. And you get both of these from playing random battles or in your first 10 battles in the proving ground. So, it's always fun to come back here and look at like the tanks, especially with this little T1 Cunningham. If you go up to the top right, click on research, and look at all the things you can research. I have already researched the next up gun right here, so this isn't super applicable to me. But generally how this works is that you'll see a little green icon with like 70 or 80 XP, and you click on that. Assuming that you have enough combat experience plus free experience, you will be able to research that module. Then you'll have a little credit price that looks like one of these pop up right next to it. You click that and you're allowed to actually outfit and put that module on your tank. In this case, a gun. So assuming that I've just put this new gun on my tank, I can look at its ammunition types and the other parts of the tank that I'm actually going to be using in battle. If I go to service, this is the tab that will allow you to actually change what you see in battle and change what ammunition and stuff that you actually have. So, as a starting point, you have 3 types of ammunition on almost every gun in the game. There are some that are different, and I'll discuss those later on, but as a very basic sense, you have your normal ammunition, you have your premium ammunition, and you have your high explosive ammunition. Now the difference between these 3 can really be shown by looking at the statistics of this gun. So if you left click on this and then right click on the gun, you'll get an advanced statistic tab where you can look at the differences. So it goes like this: normal, premium, high explosive. So you look at your normal. This has 33 millimeters of penetration, or it can on average go through 33 millimeters of armor. It does 30 damage. Your premium rounds, which if you look here, are much more expensive. They actually cost money. Then your standard rounds have 20 more millimeters of penetration. They can go through armor that is 20 more millimeters thick. However, they still do the same damage. High explosive is interesting because high explosive, if you look, has about 14 less millimeters of penetration than your normal rounds, but it does 6 more damage with every shot. Which means that when you're shooting at an extremely lightly armored target, you fire high explosive. When you're shooting at a target which is about normal armor that you know you can penetrate, which is going to be most of the targets you ever face, you shoot normal rounds. However, if you're shooting at a tank that is a much higher tier than you later on in the game, this is where premium rounds start to become useful. But be aware, make sure to use them sparingly, because if you look, here's a great example. To buy each one of these rounds, it doesn't cost me any credits. To buy HE rounds, it costs me 8 credits per, so it's very cheap. To buy 25 HE rounds, it costs me 200 credits. However, to buy 20 APCR rounds costs me 20,000 credits. And these premium ammunitions are always going to be more expensive because what you're doing is you're trading your capability to earn money for the capability to do more damage and to pen the enemy tank. So it's always like a sort of a balance in your head that you'll get much better at as the game goes on, but that's how the different types of ammunitions work. Now there's another interesting thing in this tab. Besides these little repair automatically, so you resupply automatically, and like little checkboxes, which you should almost always have checked, consumables are very interesting. So there are two main types of consumables. You have the premium consumables, which are all extremely expensive. Then you have the standard consumables, which are 5,000, and then each one of these are 3,000. So the reason why they're different in value is that these all have different bonuses and have more advanced stuff. Like you see, it has like a plus 10% to speed and module repairs, plus 15% protection of crew from injuries, all that fun stuff. That's all nice. However, I'm going to completely ignore this for now, and even the gasoline, because technically it's a standard, but it really doesn't matter at this point in the game. I'll talk about it more next week. However, these are the things that really matter. Small repair kit, small first aid kit, and manual fire extinguisher. Fire extinguisher. It allows you to press a button and have the fire go out in your tank if you get set on fire. It's extremely useful. You never want to burn to death because, well, think about it. If you shoot an enemy tank once and then he catches on fire and burns to death, you don't want that guy to be you. You want that guy to be on the enemy team. So you should always have a fire extinguisher in your last slot. Now, when it comes to everything else, you should probably always have a small repair kit, because a repair kit, if you look at the when in use tab, means that you can repair something like your gun or your ammo rack or anything else that gets damaged on your tank during battle. It's basically something where you pay 3,000 credits and you get a little freebie for the battle, where you end up not being like screwed because you took one really unlucky hit of damage. And now you probably want to put your small first aid kit on this last one. The reason why I say this is because of how these work. This is usually bound to 5, this is usually bound to 6, and this is usually bound to 4. And if you press 5 twice, that repairs your tracks. You press 4 twice, that brings up your driver. And because I normally play tanks that are very fast, those are the two things that I usually have to repair the most. So this is why I have it in this order, if you're wondering. I recommend keeping it in this order just because it's good for anything that really isn't in an artillery. So, small first aid kit. This allows you to repair something like a loader or a commander or something else. Just one of your poor little crew members. If they get hit by a shell, you can bring them back to life, which is always good, and you never want to lose a guy. It would suck, honestly. Small first aid kit. And there you go. I don't actually have to pay any credits for these due to the fact that I bought them before I started the video on one of my many failed attempts to actually get this done correctly. But normally you'd see like a 1 times 3,000 for each one of these, and it would cost 9,000 credits to outfit your tank like this. Now I'm going to click accept, and now you see where these pop up in your little slots. There's also one other thing that you can do to customize your tank in terms of battle. I mean, there's stuff like camouflage, which you can do right here, which costs real money or is just hyper expensive. But what's much, much cooler than that are these things, which, for lack of a better word, I'm going to call them modules. These give you basically what are called passive bonuses, or an increase to some of the statistics on your tank during the battle. And you pay for them once, and they will always be there. These will never break. These will never, you don't have to resupply them after every battle. However, they are very expensive due to the fact that you only pay for them once, and then you forget about them. So, improved ventilation class 1. 50,000 credits. Super cheap on this tank. It basically increases your crew skills, and as a general rule of thumb, for every 10% of crew skill increase that you get 5% of actual bonuses to your tank stats. So with this, I know I get 2.5% bonus on top of all of this, which doesn't seem like a lot, but often when that's the difference between reloading before the enemy and shooting them, and you getting shot yourself, it can matter quite a bit, that little 5% bonus to crew skills. You can actually have 3 of these modules in every tank, assuming you have the money. None of this other stuff is super noteworthy because it's all super expensive and won't really matter till you get up to much higher tiers. But that's just generally how things work. Now I'm going to discuss the tech tree and how all of that works. So assuming you've played some battles and you have all of this stuff, like about this amount of XP and stuff, you can come through and you can look and you can basically research all of these vehicles. Now this vehicle, if you see this little percent marker, is on sale. Now, I'll discuss bonuses and sales and mission sales and stuff like that again next week, because it's quite a lot of stuff that doesn't matter right now. But in a basic sense, if it's below tier 5 and that tank line, as it's called, is on sale or has a bonus applied to it, these tanks will be 50% off if it's below tier 6. So, T2 medium, I'm going to buy him. Looks like this. You get this little options. When you're more advanced in the game, you might like actually spend gold or more credits to get a better crew. But a basic crew is all I'm looking at. And then I come through, and if I were to play a couple games, or if I have the free XP, I could start to upgrade this thing right now. And so, if you guys want to treat this like any of your tier 1 tanks, this is how this like very generally works. You have mandatory modules and optional modules, or at least that's how I'm going to call them. In my mind, they're almost all mandatory, but it's pretty good terminology to use. Your optional modules are modules like this: your gun, your engine, and your tracks. These are not required to be upgraded for you to get on and play the next tank. However, these optional modules will make your grind, or the amount of times you have to play this tank to get to the next one, it will make your life so much easier to buy these now. And the reason is that on the next tank, they often use almost the exact same modules, or they use a different variation of the same modules. Basically, there's a good chance you'll be using this on the next tank. There's a good chance that like this 37mm gun will become relevant, oh look, right there on the next tank. So upgrading these guns and going through and getting this next engine, it all will actually make your life easier, because it will unlock upgrades on the next tank that you then don't actually have to play through and get on the next tank, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to upgrade these. And if you notice, as soon as I upgrade each one of these, the number changes and it goes from green to this funky little orange color. And the reason is because it's changed from me having to spend free XP or experience on these modules to now to me having to spend credits. So if I pay for this, you notice my credits are going down, pay for this, and now you see that both these are grayed out. And this is because I do not have enough free experience to buy this gun, and I don't have enough credits to buy this engine. And so this is what happens when you get down the tech tree. And so you basically play to get enough credits and experience to unlock these, then to unlock the next tank, and that's World of Tanks in general. That's how the progression works in this game. So now let's talk about why you'd actually want to spend all that time progressing from one to the other and going all the way down to get like a higher tier tank. And this is why. Let's compare the T1 Cunningham to one of the premier tanks on the American line on the opposite side. This is why. At tier 10, everything is bigger, better, and so much more fun, because you don't have to deal with a bunch of people who don't know what they're doing, and there's just a lot more strategy involved. The game gets much better the higher you go up in the tiers. I personally stick around this area because, as I said, it gets much more challenging. It's a lot of fun. So now that you have the motivation to actually go down one of these lines, I should probably explain what a line is. This is a line. I realize now that I've said that, you're probably facepalming, because you realize that it's literally a line of tanks. And the reason is, these are all tanks that are very similar to each other. So they're grouped up in the tech tree. You go from this one to this one to this one, blah, 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 all the way down to you get to tier 10. And This is the T110E5 line, as it's called. You use this to get to the T110E5. This would be the M48 patent line, as you go along this path to get up to the patent. This would be the T110E3 line, blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. And so, this is how like the basic progression system World of Tanks works. I've covered, first of all, just as like a review here, how this outfit module system works, how the service tab works, how premium ammunition and armor piercing ammunition are different, how consumables work, and using this knowledge, you should be able to go out and have a lot more fun in World of Tanks. Next week, I'm going to have a lot more detailed stuff, which I think is going to be even more interesting, because it's not just going to be a tutorial on how to use the garage, which is much fun as it is to have me talking for 10 minutes about how credits work. I think that there's much more cooler things to be doing in World of Tanks. So, besides that, I'd like to thank you guys all for watching. I hope you guys got something out of this video. If not, dislike it. If you did, please do like it and subscribe. There's more stuff coming next week. I have a really fun video on gameplay coming out on Friday. I hope you guys are around to see it. Good luck, have fun, and I will see you out there on the battlefield.